Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach once more, also from Adat Yeshua here in Norwich, and it's a pleasure to have you tuning in once more to our weekly blog on the Torah portion. And of course, we're still in the middle of coming to the end of our High Holy Days, with tomorrow, of course, being Simchat Torah, as the rabbis called it, as Rabbinic Judaism knows it. Otherwise, it's the Hoshana Rabbah. As Yeshua calls it, as well as we know it from the scriptures and the Masonic writings. It is designated as such, a loosely connected day, in fact, with Sukkot, because of course you're commanded to celebrate eating in the booth for 7 days, and the 8th day really is the day of culmination, the fulfillment of everything that's gone through our year, beginning at Passover and coming through all of our High Holy Days. The message that comes out, which is of course salvation, redemption, deliverance, our forgiveness from God. All of this pattern that works together and teaches us how we are to receive that salvation from the Lord. And it's an intriguing one, this final day. Of course, in its own way, it has so many messages about the completion of all things in a Jewish universal way, of how God's plan comes together at that point, not just for us as his people, as Jewish people, but also for all humanity, how this is all drawn together. The rabbis designated it Simchat Torah and focused upon the Torah. And of course, we know at this time of the year, traditionally, this is the time we conclude Devarim, begin Bereshit again. And so tomorrow we shall be doing that traditional practice of reading one end of the scroll, going back to the beginning and the beginning part of the scroll, the never-ending cycle. In fact, as one person once joked about, I remember reading somewhere, one person asked another one when he was holding a Bible, and he just said, "Haven't you finished reading that yet?" Which, of course, you know, the Bible is not a book that you just sit and read from cover to cover. It's something which doesn't stop. It goes on. And in many ways, our celebration of Simchat Torah tomorrow really understands that core idea that although we get to the end of something, the end is always the beginning. The end of the game is the beginning of the game, as they say in Germany. And this is certainly true, because when we get to a cycle of readings like this, we then go back through what we've learned, understood. We can apply this to the High Holy Days as well. You know, what we have learned, what we've seen, how have we grown, how have we changed? Where did God challenge us? Are we now just going to think about that as a memory, or are we actually going to build it into our lives now as we go into this new Jewish year? How are we going to change? We think we ought to make those changes, and we really, really should. But everything, when we see it this way, has a purpose, a time and a place, which goes around this circular, cyclical view that in Judaism that we have in life. It's not linear in Jewish thinking, but a circle. We go round, but each time we go round that spiral, we learn more, we move closer to the Lord each year as we draw closer to him. And there's a few ideas that we can pull out really from all of this. The first thing is that all things work together for good. Now that obviously is a comment and a thought which Rav Shaul brings out for us, but it's so true when you understand our lives in this way. Each thing that God takes us through ultimately is designed to take us closer to him, to bring us closer, to teach us more, that we understand more, we develop more of that spiritual walk in the Lord that we're meant to have. But you see, most people tend to think the verse ends there, that all things work together for good. That isn't exactly what it says. It says all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. The key to really fulfilling our walk in the Lord, where everything can be used as a learning experience for us, is that we have to keep on loving God. Life is never easy. It's full of things which are incredibly tough, difficult and challenging. Some people make decisions that, frankly, most of us would hope we would never have to make. That is also what life is. We experience things that most of us would please the Lord never have to experience ourselves. But life is what it is. And the thing is, if we love God through all of this, and we are called according to his purposes, not our own, his purposes, then what we will learn through that will actually enable us to be ready to serve him in the right way, at the right time, and in the right place. And the last thought on this really for this morning is simply this. When we think about the Torah in a circular pattern this way, our lives in a circular pattern this way, that we move through drawing closer, then every end is surely a new beginning. And this also is quite profound when we think about, for instance, the life of Yeshua. Yes, he died, and yet his death was a new beginning. His sacrificial death, his resurrection, although it was catastrophic and appeared catastrophic devastation to the Messianic Jewish community of the first century, of Yeshua's followers, who were scattered around thinking, how do we even continue with this? What goes on? What happens next? Is this the end? Amongst all the fluidity of the various Judaisms of the first century, it felt like it was the end for them. And yet that death, that end point, proved itself to be a brand new beginning. Out of that death, as that new seed then, that seed died and the new growth came out of that seed, bringing new fruit into a new time, a new era of Judaism, we found even there that cycle had a positive result. It brought a unity amongst the Messianic Jewish community. New leaders arose, Rav Shaul amongst others, who then took that community on, took that renewed Judaism on into what it then could become through history. Every end is a new beginning. And I want to encourage those of you today who maybe during this time or even after the last year have actually gone through moments where you felt the end had arrived. You maybe felt you couldn't go on anymore. You felt there was no point in going on anymore. I want to encourage you. Every end is a new beginning. See that for yourself in your own life right now. Maybe this is a time to get into Messianic Judaism. You've looked at it before, but you didn't think it was for you. Maybe this is the time to make a new start and think, Lord, lead me into this new dimension, this new era in my own life. Maybe it's in personal circumstances, but whatever it may be, see this as a new beginning for you. Yes, we get to the end of Deuteronomy, but Bereshit beckons the week after. A new creation, a new order, a recreation in that way. Exactly what Hoshana Rabbah is really all about. If we connect that with the book of Revelation in that way, it is a renewed creation. It's the heaven, the Jerusalem's coming down out of heaven as a new heaven and a new earth. This is what Hoshana Rabbah is all about, that nothing has an end in itself in that way. It's a new beginning, a new form, and a new stage of our spiritual lives. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. I will see you again next Friday for our blog, Lehitrot Toda Rabah.